5 children who remember their past lives. Do you think you've lived a past life before? Is reincarnation real? It's nearly impossible to prove, but there are some paranormal stories out there and a few kids who remember their past lives, or at least, it certainly seems that way. They say history repeats itself, but sometimes things line up a little too well to be simple coincidence. Today, we're going to talk about some supernatural true stories of kids who seem to remember their previous incarnations. Before we begin, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more creepy videos like this in the future. Let's go. Number 5. Boris Kipriyanovich. When little Boris was born, his mother noticed that he looked at her with focus and intensity, which is incredible for a newborn. At 4 months, he was speaking, and at 8 months, he was speaking in full sentences. By the time he was a year old, he was reading newspaper headlines. Boris, in addition to his incredible intellect, claimed to describe his previous life on Mars. He allegedly came from an advanced civilization that was blown up in a devastating nuclear war. Not only that, but there are other children like him who were sent on a mission to save humanity. Boris made all sorts of headlines, but has disappeared and not resurfaced for a long while. Some people hypothesize that he is working on top-secret projects with the Russian government, while others assume his family simply got tired of the attention and lack of privacy the media gave them. What do you think? Are we as doomed as Boris claims we are? Number 4. James Leininger. After his second birthday, poor James Leininger began having horrible nightmares, with one gruesome detail. He was always in a plane about to crash somewhere in the Pacific.
He would just be crying. He'd say, "Airplane crash on fire, and little man can't get out." He laid on his back and kicked up at the ceiling, and he goes, "Mama, the little man's going like this." And he laid on his back and kicked his feet up. The little man's going, "Ooh, ooh, 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 can't get out." And I said, "Well, who's the little man, baby?" And he goes, "Me."
When he was 3, he drew pictures and began to describe a World War II fighter pilot's life.
A question, what kind of plane?
Corsair.
Why did your airplane crash?
My plane was shot down.
Who shot your plane?
He looked at me like I was a village idiot. He said,
The Japanese.
His parents did some research and discovered the pilot James Houston Jr., who died off the coast of Iwo Jima. James Leininger was comfortable around military aircraft from that area and knew the names of other pilots, locations, and the name of the ship Houston Jr. was stationed on, the USS Natoma Bay. James's parents tracked down Houston's family, and Leininger talked to his past life's sister, making claims that he simply couldn't have known. He knew that Anne Houston went by Annie, about Annie's sister Ruth, and that James Houston was the youngest in the family by 4 years.
The child was so convincing and coming up with all these things that there's no way in the world he could know, unless there is a spiritual thing.
Not only that, but James's parents took him to have a memorial for James Houston Jr., and James's nightmare stopped that very same night. James's father tried to debunk his son's claims for years, but wasn't ever able to find logic behind it, and decided that maybe his son really was the reincarnated version of James Houston.
I believe that he had a past life. I believe that in his past life he was James M. Houston Jr. And he came back because he wasn't finished with something. And that's essentially what I believe.
Number 3. Murder victim. A young boy in Golan Heights near Syria claimed that not only did he have a past life, but he had been murdered in it. The boy had a large birthmark on his head, which he believed to be a remnant of how he died. Dr. Eli Lash was interested in the case and investigated the boy's claims with his parents. They went to some nearby cities, and at the third one they visited, the boy claimed to recognize it. He was able to recall his past life's first and last name, as well as the first and last name of his murderer. Someone from the town overheard him and said that the person with the name the boy had mentioned disappeared 4 years ago. Lash and the boy's family continued to investigate and eventually found the boy's old home. The boy walked up to a man claiming to be his neighbor. He explained that this man had killed him with an axe and that he knew where he hid the body. Everyone followed the boy, and they did find a body where the boy claimed it would be. Not only that, but there was a wound on the skull of the corpse they found that matched the boy's birthmark. If this case is true, it's certainly an incredible story. Yet the only verifiable source of this story comes from Dr. Eli Lash himself. Do you think Dr. Lash made it up? Let us know in the comments. Number 2. Christian Haupt. After mentioning he used to be a tall baseball player in the past, the 8-year-old Christian Haupt convinced his mother that he was the reincarnation of Lou Gehrig.
Mommy, I used to be a tall baseball player.
Yeah, one day you're going to be a tall baseball player.
No, I was a tall baseball player. Tall like Daddy.
Gehrig was a baseball player from the 1920s who was diagnosed with a crippling neurological disease that was named after him after he died in 1941.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. That I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
Haupt claimed that when he was a baseball player, he died because his body stopped working.
Do you remember how you died?
My body stopped working.
Which does line up with the symptoms of Lou Gehrig's disease. Kathy Bird, Haupt's mother, wrote a book on her son's claims, titled The Boy Who Knew Too Much. In it, she described some further questions she asked Haupt, to which he gave accurate answers. For instance, after seeing a photo of Gehrig and Babe Ruth, Haupt claimed that they didn't speak much, and that he just knew this to be true.
And I said, "Do you see anyone in this photo that doesn't like Babe Ruth?" And he immediately pointed to a guy with dimples, and then he said, "That's me."
It was. Ruth and Gehrig had a falling out right before Gehrig's diagnosis, but it goes even further.
I picked her to be my mommy.
Do you remember where you were when you chose her?
In the sky.
Haupt claimed that he picked Bird to be his mom, and that Bird is actually the reincarnation of Gehrig's mother. While under hypnosis, Bird was able to recall a life as Christina Gehrig and told a story to her therapist, which was later verified to be something that actually happened. Do you think Christian Haupt was Lou Gehrig, or are they simply bold claims made by a child? Number 1. Cameron Macaulay. This boy will, at the young age of 2, begin informing his parents of his family. This wouldn't be weird, but the family he was describing wasn't the family that he was currently in. Macaulay had one older sibling, but described a family with multiple siblings.
Favorite place in Barra was the beach, and I took my dog with me and I play with him and my brothers and sisters to play.
He also claimed to live on Barra.
I lived in the White House with my mum and dad and my 3 brothers and sisters.
A small island near Scotland. This island was over 200 miles away from Macaulay's current home and family in Glasgow. Macaulay's description of his previous life was so vivid that his family decided to visit Barra, where they found a house and family matching the descriptions Cameron gave.
Well, we're certainly off to a good start. I mean, he feels that he recognizes the place. He said to his brother, I told you it was true, and he's very excited about being here.
I recognize every single bit.
Even having the last name of Robertson, which was the name Cameron described them with. The Robertsons had a father who was hit and killed by a truck not long before Cameron was born. The amount of accurate details Cameron was able to provide about a place he had never been to at such a young age lends a lot of credibility to his story. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments. Bonus: past life regression. Past life regression is a psychological technique that involves hypnosis. It is used in therapy, often as a way to give people a new perspective on their current life and to discover a potential source of the patient's current problems. Practitioners who use this technique are able to link the past and present lives together to resolve issues. However, the technique has been critically panned by the medical world and has been described as unethical. This is because the hypnosis causes its patients to remember things that didn't actually happen, and these false memories become indistinguishable from real memories. Thus, the technique can cause delusions disguised as therapy, which can end up causing more harm than good. Would you try past life therapy? If you're interested, there are all sorts of guided meditations you can try for yourself. But be warned, it may not work for you, and if it does, it may do more harm than good. Use this technique at your own discretion. Thanks for watching our video. Looking for more? Check out this playlist. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss more videos by us. We've got 2 more spooky videos like this one coming up soon. Why not leave a comment below about which story was your favorite? Anyway, we'll see you in the next video. Take care.